The law of the seed, the plant seed, helps us understand a law. After laboring, one must plow the soil and water the seed for it to germinate. You invest effort, then you must wait patiently. Only then can you harvest the fruit, meaning the formula is effort plus patience. By results, yet people often forget this law. They are used to thinking that if I sow today, I will reap tomorrow. What will you get? The answer is tomorrow you will have wet seeds lying in the ground. Today you sow seeds, later you will harvest. If you sow now, you will harvest the fruit in 4 months. In ancient times, when families still farmed for their own food, perhaps people understood this better than the descendants of today's instant noodle age. Fred said, "If only I could get a proper job, I would definitely work my hardest. But now, I only have dishwashing, so why should I worry?" But you're thinking wrong, Fred. If you become the best dishwasher in the region, people will notice you. You will be promoted, or you will feel satisfied with yourself, so that one day you will confidently take on a job you enjoy. Effort first, then harvest. That's a principle. No one can reverse that process. Mary declared, "Just promote me. I won't doze off at work anymore." Frank keeps saying, "Pay me a high salary. I'll stop taking sick days." And Wren wishes, if only she could marry a decent husband, she wouldn't treat her husband badly. Credit card and installment companies also encourage people to spend. You won't have to pay interest until January, but they ignore the fact that you might go bankrupt in February. People will cleverly ignore the above principle. But you know, effort first, then harvest is always more effective than buy now, pay later. Gardening also gives us another lesson. Sow 10 seeds. You may not get all 10 plants. Fred sowed some seeds that were bad. They didn't germinate, some were pecked by birds, some were carried away by ants. Finally, Fred. Only 2 stunted plants remained, and he lamented, "Why am I so unlucky? To recruit a few good employees, you have to interview dozens of people. To get a few regular customers, you have to serve hundreds of customers. To eat a dish that satisfies you, you have to try many restaurants, many ideas, many employees, and even your friends will leave your life like beans carried away by ants. Should you oppose this? You need to understand and prepare your mindset to face the law. It is the law of cause and effect. If you find your life is at a dead end, you must look back at what have you invested in it. You will never hear anyone say, "I wake up early from dawn. I dream, I exercise, then I study. I cultivate good relationships with everyone. I try my best in work. Yet I have never encountered good things." Your life is like an energy system. If good things don't come to you, it's your own fault. Once you realize that your input effort determines your condition, you will no longer be a victim of circumstances. We can envy others and wonder, where did the law of cause and effect go for this person? He got promoted, and we secretly wonder how he could get promoted. Our neighbors celebrate 40 years of happy marriage, while we wonder why some people are so lucky in marriage. Sometimes the law of cause and effect may not be very clear, but believe me, it is the same for everyone. In life, we will get what we want. Rose seduces women with money and expensive jewelry. When abandoned, he blames them for using him for his money. Obviously, if you go fishing using jewelry as bait, you'll only catch fish that like biting jewelry. What's so surprising about that, Wendy? Wendy always goes out in the most provocative outfits. Yet she gets upset because men only like her for her body. They can spot her seductive figure from afar. So, is there anything surprising about that? In short, if we dare to be honest with ourselves, we can list all the events that have happened to us and how we unconsciously facilitated them. Stop wondering whether the law of cause and effect applies to others around you, or not notice how these laws are applying in our own lives, in our successes and failures, and in our social relationships. You will feel much more at ease when you play better, because the game will also become bigger than winning a small game. We will have the chance to join a bigger game, and then an even bigger one begins. Going to school, we enter first grade, then move up to second, third, and so on. It's an efficient system based on the principle that when you play better, the game gets bigger. Simple as it is, sometimes people forget this principle along life's journey. Frank had to rob Peter to pay Paul to afford monthly car loan payments. So in his entire 20-year working life, he only saved a few dollars. He argued that if I had $1 million, I would do this and that. Wrong thinking again. Your mission now is to learn how to save $10. See, tens come before hundreds, hundreds before thousands, and you must earn small money before talking about millions. Candy is a singer performing at the corner bar, and she dreams of becoming a star. She says, if I had thousands of audience members, I would show them my true talent. But now, in the bar, there are a few idlers drinking and telling me to sing. So, sorry ha. Only when Candy learns to perform her best for just 6 audience members will she have the chance to get 12 audience members, 100 audience members, and then one day she will have 1,000. Rim is in the insurance business. He has only a small office and only 1 employee. He's about to fire him. He complains, if only I could have 10 employees, how great that would be. It's very difficult, Jim. You'll hardly keep even 1. A team of 10 people, when he can't even keep 1. Life is a process of gradual progress. You should always ask yourself, what have I done? What do you gain from what you have when your answer is still, I haven't done it? You gain plenty, but then the future will still hold no promise for you. The universe only rewards effort, not your excuses. One thing leads to another. Once you have a barn, you'll get a buffalo. Whenever I feel my life is so boring, I often turn to those friends who are living a vibrant and interesting life, and also wonder how. How did they get such a beautiful life? In doing so, I discovered that they too had to start their beautiful life. From some starting point, that starting point may be very small at first, but it leads you to one thing and another, and so it continues. Sometimes we make the mistake of being too picky every time we have to make a decision. We may refuse a job transfer offer because we think this is not exactly the job we like. But if at that time you haven't been offered any better job, why not boldly accept and seize the opportunity? Then you'll see this opportunity leads to another opportunity. If you don't have a big opportunity in front of you, seize the small ones first. Go ahead and jump in boldly. Businessman John McCormack can tell us the story of his friend Nick, how Nick got his first job on American soil. Nick was an immigrant, penniless, and couldn't speak English. He applied for a job washing dishes in an Italian restaurant. Before being interviewed by the boss, Nick went into the restaurant's restroom. He used a brush to scrub every tile until everywhere was spotless. By the time the boss began interviewing Nick, he was still amazed. Who cleaned the restroom? That was how Nick told him. For me, washing dishes is a serious job. And so Nick got hired as a dishwasher. A week later, the chef in charge of salads resigned. Nick was promoted to take over this job. Soon he became a chef. Now, every time someone tells me that opportunities don't come to them, I think of Nick and his brush. In short, start from any starting point. Give your best to what you have within reach. And then, opportunities will naturally find you. That's how we build our reputation. That is the proof of the saying, have a barn. Then there will be a fable. There is a fable about the frog and a bucket of water. People often use it to illustrate the principle of gradual decline. If you drop a carefree frog into a bucket of boiling water, then what will that smart frog do? It will immediately jump out. The frog will tell itself that this place is not comfortable at all. Time to jump out. But if we take that frog, or any representative of the frog family, and drop it into a bucket of cold water, then place that bucket on a stove and slowly heat the water, what will happen? At first, the frog feels completely comfortable. A few minutes later, the frog tells itself, the water here is somehow lukewarm, isn't it? And in the end, we end up with a boiled frog. So what is the lesson here? Everything in life usually happens gradually, just like that poor frog. We can be deceived little by little until we realize it, but then it's too late. Therefore, we must always stay alert to recognize what is happening to us. I want to ask you a question. If you wake up tomorrow and suddenly find yourself 20 kilograms heavier, would you be worried? Of course you would. You would panic and call the hospital, saying, emergency, emergency, I've become obese. But when things happen gradually, this month you gain 1 kilogram, next month you gain another kilogram, we tend to overlook and underestimate the risk of obesity. If one day you overspend by $10, it's no big deal. But if tomorrow you overspend again, and the next day, and the day after that, then eventually you will go bankrupt. The same goes for people who go bankrupt, become obese, or get divorced. It's not a sudden, major accident in an instant that ruins their lives. Rather, it's usually small things that accumulate day by day, until one day that accumulation explodes, and they are bewildered, not understanding what happened. Life is a process of accumulation, each thing adding to the previous. Just as flowing water over time erodes rock walls, the story of the frog implies that we must see the trend of change in things. Every day, we need to ask ourselves, where am I going? Am I better, healthier, happier, richer than last year? If the answer is no, we need to make a change. And the scariest thing here is that life does not stay still. Either we move forward or we fall behind. There is no other choice. Self-discipline. If you voluntarily do the small things you don't like, then you will have a lifetime to do the big things you like. Discipline is probably not a word many people favor. In terms of popularity, in many people's minds, discipline might be ranked alongside dentists or diarrhea. But self-discipline is precisely the factor that makes all the difference. And life is an exchange between immediate pleasures and long-term rewards. Self-discipline in small things. Studying instead of watching TV, for example, will lead you to great things. You will have high professional expertise. More than self-discipline in small things, exercising 3 times a week, for instance, it will lead you to great things. You will have good health. Discipline in small things, saving $10 a day. Instead of spending it on beer, it will lead you to great things. You will have your own house. The secret of self-discipline is not having an iron will, but understanding why you want something. If you truly understand why you want to get out of debt, saving becomes much easier. If you understand why you want to improve your professional skills, studying becomes easier for you. Self-discipline also has another characteristic. When you are self-disciplined, you don't need anyone to impose discipline on you. At that point, you will be in control of your own life. Outsiders will no longer preach to you about how you should live. But if you lack discipline, others will impose their discipline on you. People who are not self-disciplined often end up in jobs where they are bossed around by others. And those who have absolutely no self-discipline will eventually end up in prison. The first principle of development is orderly development. To develop, all things need to be systematic. Look at a flower, peel an orange, or examine the balanced structure of a tree or a beehive. Everywhere you will see a certain principle. Nature only keeps what is essential and discards what is meaningless. That is the organization of nature. If you want your business to succeed, you must have a suitable business method. If you want your life to be whole, you must establish a certain order in your life. Fred said, "My workspace is very messy, but it's an organized mess. Actually, I am a very efficient worker." Is that really the case? I can imagine people pushing a cart of gauze into the operating room for brain surgery, and he sees the surgeon standing amid a pile of chaos, bandages, knives, bottles. The lead surgeon then says, "Don't worry, it's messy in here, but we still work well." Anywhere work is smooth and efficient, there is organization. Firefighters always know where their helmets are, and ambulance drivers also know where the keys are kept. Nothing can sprout and bear fruit in a state of chaos. Clean out your filing cabinet, tidy up the warehouse and storage areas. Then you might notice this. Inside and outside are the same, meaning your environment reflects your mindset. And often, when chaos reigns in your home, it will be the same in your life. No effort is wasted. If we take an ice cube frozen at -50 degrees Celsius and put it on a stove, at first nothing will happen. It seems we are wasting a significant amount of heat without any result. Suddenly, when the ice is heated to 0 degrees Celsius, it begins to melt into water. The energy expended has yielded results. We continue heating for a period of time. Next, it seems we are again wasting a lot of energy without anything happening. Then, when the water heats up to 100 degrees Celsius, it starts to boil and steam heavily. Water boils. So what is the rule here? One can put a lot of effort into something, for example, heating an ice cube, or devoting oneself to a career project, and perhaps for a long time nothing happens. In fact, our efforts have created changes, but we just haven't seen them yet. If we keep focusing our energy on that task, we will surely see a change. If we always remember this rule, we will not be confused nor lose heart halfway. I often imagine my life as a scoring game. Every time I try to do something, like cleaning my desk, writing a book, helping a friend pay off a debt, or learning to sketch. Trying and failing and then trying again, I have earned points for myself. All those points are added to the life scoreboard. However, I don't know in advance how many points I need to accumulate to be rewarded. And this very thing makes me enjoy the accumulation of points rather than demanding an immediate reward. And then every now and then, usually when I least expect it, life suddenly rewards me. Sometimes it is a new opportunity, sometimes an interesting offer, sometimes a check sent to my name. The waves of events in life occur in waves, just like waves. We already know many types of waves: sound waves, light waves, brain waves, microwaves. If understood in everyday terms, a wave is a manifestation of the tendency of things to occur in batches. This means that problems in family life, wedding invitations, or car repairs often happen consecutively. Understanding this will be very useful for life. When there is a month where you suddenly earn a lot of money without spending anything, you will tell yourself to save this money to prepare for the next wave, not knowing what will happen when the next wave comes and causes you hardship. You can still say that I am not unfamiliar with such waves. They will recede eventually. Adapt to them. We are living in a world full of fluctuations and change. In nature, one season gives way to another. Waves crash onto the shore, then recede. In society, inflation rates rise and fall. People sometimes find jobs, sometimes lose them. If so, then surely people would understand that change is the most fundamental law of the universe. But no. Instead, people get annoyed every time they see change. Surely you remember that in school we learned about the law of natural selection. This is the law of adaptation, corresponding to a changed environment. For example, we learned that if you are a green bug living in a field that is brown, and if you don't change color, you'll be in trouble. You could argue that the field should turn green, because it used to be green. But if we don't change color ourselves, soon there won't be any bugs left. Moreover, the laws of nature are very harsh: adapt or die. Unfortunately, the biology teachers did not add that students should remember this is a lesson of life. Adapt, right? Let's take an example from the business world. Everything can change. Once stated, in this world, is there any movie audience that wants to hear actors talk? In 1943, Mr. Thomas Watson, president of IBM, said, "I think the global demand for computers is only about a handful." Anyway, in 1977, Ken Orson, president of Digital Equipment Corporation, once said that there is no reason for an individual to have the desire to have a computer in their home at all. So what is true today may not be true tomorrow. What is good today may not be good tomorrow. The only constant we have is change. If you are away from home for about 3 months, when you return, you will see your child has changed. Your little child now knows how to say daddy. Here, nothing is good or bad. Simply everything is in motion. In short, happy people in life do not simply accept changes. Rather, they seize the opportunities that those changes bring. They are people with clear convictions. Why would I want the next 5 years of my life to be exactly the same as the last 5 years?